In December 2018, Andrew of Proving Demons thought of an idea to boost some extra views by planting a bone in the wall of a property and ultimately pretend to find human remains. This would be finished off by calling the police to report these human remains, and make a viral video which they hoped would boost their views and subscribers. Unfortunately for Andrew and his accomplices, when the police and forensic teams arrived on site, they were quickly able to determine that the bone actually came from a medical skeleton. Andrew then, along with his accomplices, were reprimanded and given a verbal warning from officers. Before the police discovered it was all a huge lie, Andrew had sought publicity from the local press in order to get his name in the media so that the story would gain further traction, with the goal of creating a viral video. Unfortunately for Andrew, once the media and press were made aware of the police's involvement and subsequent discovery that it was all an elaborate hoax, they printed that story, instead of what Andrew had intended all along. When the press tried to contact Andrew to comment on why he would waste police time solely to create a viral video, he simply ignored them because they were no longer interested in printing an article about his discovery, but instead wanted him to explain why he would do something so insensitive, selfish and stupid. The press soon released an article exposing Andrew and his accomplices, and then he had to think of a way to dig himself out of this mess, because now the internet and his entire fanbase were interested to know why Andrew, who is allegedly a genuine and honest ghost hunter, would pull such a stunt and lie to all of his fans for his own selfish personal gains. Carl Hassall from Duck Arts Paranormal and one of the accomplices involved are friends and had a phone conversation to discuss what happened with the police involvement. This friend in question is Dan from Exploring with Fighters. Let's listen to this interesting phone call between Carl and Dan.
Do you know for sure if it's legit or not, or Andrew's just chatting shit?
No, I spoke to the police.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the detective rang me, right? He rang my mobile because Andrew gave me my number. But I thought that it was Andrew's number, so I'm not Andrew's number saved, it's got 77 at the end. So when I answered it, thinking it was Andrew, I was like, yo, and he was like, this is Detective such a thing from Cheshire Police.
Fucking hell.
I was like, hi, and he went, your friend Andrew's book called, he's given me a number and his book called and told me it was all elaborate hoax for views.
Oops. Well, that is an interesting development, considering Andrew claimed numerous other people were responsible. Well, of course it was anyone but him, wasn't it? So poor Andrew wasn't set up as he had claimed after all. What a moronic failure this turned out to be, but what else would you expect from someone with an IQ lower than a 0-0 draw at a football game? One question I think everyone is asking, why would Carl expose his supposedly close friend like that? Recording a private phone call from Dan and then later sending it to numerous people so that Andrew and Dan were exposed for their plan to create this amazing hoax that went so badly wrong. Well, once upon a time, Carl was a genuine ghost hunter, so he actually exposed his friend because he saw himself as somewhat credible and decided it was the right thing to do. Dan was obviously unimpressed by Carl's show of disloyalty and an argument ensued. Once the argument was over, they decided the only way to save Dan's channel was to pin everything on Andrew. So that is what they did. Carl decided he would release a statement on his Duck Arts Paranormal page on Facebook, officially ceasing any continued involvement with Andrew. Dan also stated on a live stream that he will no longer be doing paranormal investigations ever again. Over the course of the next 10 months or so, Carl's relationship with Dan took a nosedive into the ground, and Andrew, Dan and numerous other content creators completely excluded Carl from their group and wanted nothing to do with him. Poor Carl, can we say a prayer for him? As time progressed, Carl began to realize if he wanted to grow his channel exponentially, he had to come up with more than what he was producing, so he met the downfall of most fame-hungry, attention-seeking YouTubers and decided he would now begin to fake content, because that's what sells on this platform. All honesty and integrity was put in a catapult and subsequently fired into the Southern Hemisphere. Towards the end of 2019, Carl was exposed for such fakery and was exposed by numerous other channels and fans. Now in 2020, and that all is on Carl's agenda is to blatantly lie to his subscribers, he's now teamed back up with Proving Demons and Exploring with Fighters. That's right, remember the statement of him claiming he wants to remain a genuine channel and will not work with proving demons? Well, now it's all about the views and subs, I guess it will have to do. Those morals soon took a turn for the worse, didn't they? Let's also not forget how Carl exposed both Dan and Andrew by leaking that private phone call. Now that his loyalty lies with these original frauds responsible for the bone in the wall, he has now thrown another channel under the bus, known as the Ouija Brothers. There seems to be a trending theme here with Mr. Duckart's Paranormal, doesn't there? What a cunt. Here is a subsequent statement to now say it's them that were responsible for the bone in the wall, because it now suits his new agenda of fakery and bullshit to that end. With all that said, did you wonder at any point where the bone came from? Well, there are rumors flying around that other channels were responsible for planting the bone in the wall. But during the police involvement and subsequent news articles that were released, Carl admitted himself that it was him and Dan that found the actual bone that was planted for the hoax. As you can see from Carl's comment, the bone was from a medical skeleton from a previous explorer of a mansion that both Carl and Dan went on. Well, that's all we have time for today.